Before we dive in today, a quick note. Today's discussion explores alternative healing modalities and energy work. As always, be sure to consult with your medical professional for any health concerns or before making changes to your healthcare routine. Now, let's get into the show. Welcome to Generation Elevation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Generation Elevation podcast. Now, today I am joined by a magical guest known as a wizard, a healer, an exorcist. She is an emotional trauma expert. She has nearly 2 decades of experience and she has written a book called The Energy Secrets: How to Live Your Full Potential. I feel so honored to have this guest on my show today, especially just in the way that this interview come about. You know, when you put it out to the universe and then it's almost like a hop, skip and a jump and things just manifest in the right way, in the right time. And I put out a call. I'm looking for some powerful women to have on my show. And today, the universe delivered. So with that said, I would love to introduce to you all the incredible Antonia Harman. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on my show today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
So Antonia, I know there will be a few listeners that probably have no idea who you are. I've never heard of you. I've got a lot of Aussie audience as well. And I know that you're based in the UK. So for the listeners, if you were to tune into your intuition right now, into what guides you, why should they keep listening? Why should they stay on to listen to this show?
Figured out what disease is and how to cure it.
Woo-hoo!
I'm not allowed to use the C word. That was naughty. But yeah, how to dissolve disease. I figured out how to dissolve diseases. I've got 20 years experience. I'm doing a study deleting PTSD in veterans, first responders, domestic abuse survivors. I am doing the studies so that we can bring really cutting edge energy healing mainstream, because a lot of people are suffering and that trauma causes disease. And without the trauma, your diseases may well dissipate. So keep listening, guys. I'm going to talk you all the way through it.
Wow. Some huge, powerful claims here. So I think definitely there's going to be a few people listening being like, okay, all right, I'm going to need to hang around to see what this is about, because obviously, like, to say something like this, you have to have so much confidence and belief in what you do, right?
I got receipts, girl.
I cannot wait to hear about your stories and your testimonials and experiences of the clients that you've worked with, because even scrolling through your social media and watching some of like your testimonial videos on YouTube, I was like, okay, she means business, you know. First of all, how does one end up as a wizard? How do we end up here knowing what diseases and how to disintegrate things like PTSD within veterans and war survivors? Like, how does one get to this point? Were you born with?
That's a few different questions all at once. Let me start at the beginning. What is a wizard? I think is the first place to start. Okay, so the difference between witches and wizards isn't about gender. We traditionally think that wizards are dudes and witches are female, right? That's not what it is. It's about style of healing. It's about style of magic that's being used. So witches, which can be male or female, warlocks tend to be ones who've broken oaths, not male ones. Witches are using an intermediary to help them do the work. So they might be using a potion, a spell, some cards, an angel, a demon, a coven, a cauldron, some intermediary, a wand, something between them and the work. So they're using some sort of tool externally or nature or whatever it is, but it's something outside of themselves. And then a wizard is using, that's called lower level magic, which is an ancient mystery schools term from Egypt. It's nothing to do with me or a judgment. It's just what they call it. Higher level magic is using your divine energy. It's source magic. So they can also be sorcerers, because sorcerers is from source energy, but Hollywood has made sorcerers look like bad guys. So I'd stay away from that. So wizard is somebody who's awoken my natural, and I can in others, natural innate superpowers, because I believe we're gods with amnesia. And I spent the last 20 years awakening natural superpowers, and now I need nothing external to do the work. I set an intention and magic happens. Diseases fall away.
Whoa. I feel like we're about to embark on a journey just like in like Lord of the Rings or something. And I think what you just said now, I want to give that some more airtime. We are gods with amnesia.
Yes, we are gods with. I think we've forgotten. I think that we've got malware in our energy system, which prevents us from realizing that we're actually gods and that we do have latent superpowers, which are locked away. I spent the last 2 decades removing malware from my energy system, and now I can do seemingly miraculous things, which yeah, I've been a part of a lot of miracles. I've performed a lot of miracles, and I have been for 20 years, and you can too. That's the thing. Like, I always separate myself because people think, who the hell does she think she is? She says that she can do miracles. I've done a lot of miracles, and you can too. I've awoken a lot of people's energy systems, and they also perform miracles every day. You know, it's a normal thing for us. My origin story is probably a good place to start on that one. The first miracle I was ever part of, that I ever performed. I am an unlikely healer wizard. I didn't come from this world. I was a TV presenter, and I ended up doing a random healing course, which I thought, this is nonsense. Like, this is 20 years ago as well, before it was cool to be a healer. Like, it was very fringe and very weird, and there was, yoga was fringe 20 years ago. So, there was none, like, anything witchy at all was just seen as completely deranged in some way. It really wasn't the way it is now. You scroll through Instagram and everyone's doing some sort of style of magic, which is absolutely wonderful, but it wasn't 20 years ago. It was very, like, bit weird. Anyway, so my best friend has burst her eardrum 5 times. She's gone to the doctor, the specialist, and the surgeon, and it's £4,500 for the surgery and only a 50% chance it's going to work. They won't do it in the NHS because they don't think it's going to work. So they just don't want to waste the money when they can spend the money on a more likely success in a surgery. So anyway, she's getting the money together because she feels like she's been stabbed in the head several times a week. Literally, the burst eardrum was absolutely awful for her. She was once in New York, and she ends up having this surge of pain that she ends up running downstairs in her pajamas and her big coat on, but still in her slippers, and is necking Tylenol in the aisle of a supermarket. It was very, very bad. It stopped her from flying often because you have to make sure your ears are in good health to fly, otherwise it can be very dangerous. So anyway, I'm walking down the street in Notting Hill, and I end up falling to with her, and she ends up falling to her knees and starts screaming blue murder, help me, fix my ear, fix my ear. Fix your ear, Lucy. What do you want me to do? And she goes, you're a healer now. I've done a 5-day workshop. I'm very skeptical. And what do you want me to do? And she just try, just help me, just try. I took her to the loos of the electric, and I put it was outside our friend's house, actually, weirdly. It was, so I took her to the loos of the electric, and I put my hands on her ears and started channeling energy. And to my surprise, something that resembled a snake in heat waves came out of her ear. I fed it out, and it was about 1.5 feet long and about that wide. And I threw it on the ground, and it was squirming. I could just see the outline of it in heat waves. I couldn't see it. It wasn't a physical thing. And then she said, do the other side. I did the other side, and a smaller, narrow one came out. I threw energy at it. This was in 2007. She had ear, nose, and throat problems for her entire life. She has not had it since. That is a miracle. And, I don't know what you say about it, apart from she would have had the surgery, and it was it was an entity in her ear, and that was what caused her to have those problems a couple of times a week. So the surgeons were correct. There wouldn't have been anything that they could do with it. I mean, they would have tried their best, but that was not something that was fixable by surgery. And I did it in 2 minutes in the bathroom of a restaurant. And that just spun me out and changed the entire trajectory of my life, because what are you going to do? I was doing TV presenting, and then I just thought, well, this is more interesting and more important. And I've, spent the last nearly 20 years devoting my life to it, because I just think that it's possible. And I specialize in miracles, and you can too. So I just really think it's an important thing to be doing. So I spent the last 20 years largely in a trance state, awakening my abilities, because as I said, I'm using higher level magic, and we've got these things in our systems there, but there's malware, there's some things blocking our energy system from having these working properly. If we look into the Bible or look into ancient histories, people lived a lot longer than they do. I think Noah was 950. But there are Thoth, and some of the Egyptian kings were ruling for 20,000 years. I think we lived a lot longer and had a lot of abilities. And I also think potentially maybe some of the Norse gods, the Roman gods, the Greek gods, the Hindu gods, all of those sorts of gods were humans with either aliens or humans with superpowers. But I think that's possible. I think instant healing of all disease is possible. And I think that we have latent superpowers. And as I said, I spend a lot of my time in a trance. A lot of my time I've been unable to leave my bed for days, weeks, months at a time, because I've had the exhaustion to the point where I couldn't maintain relationships or think straight. Extreme pain, a lot of body pain, being able to just couldn't get out of bed, had to pull myself out of bed, roll onto the floor, and then sort of crawl and then shimmy down the stairs on my bottom to get down to the stairs, and then crawl and then put the kettle on. And I'm barely able to feed myself for years. And people could easily say, oh, you had some sort of tiredness-based disease, and that would make sense. However, if there was an event that I needed to attend, like my mum's birthday or something like that, I would end up being absolutely fine, which is a luxury that people with chronic fatigue are not granted. So, yeah. It's been a long, hard journey to do this. A lot of my time has been spent in a trance state. I've been sort of almost like meditating on beneath a tree or in a mountain or a cave or something, although most of it happened in central London in an apartment. But
Wow.
it's about opening this up to loads of people and teaching people superpowers. And it's really fun.
I mean, I understand why now we're having this conversation, right? Because the framework of my events is all about teaching people how to unlock their superpowers. And so this word superpower, I really deeply resonate with, because I've even done another episode on the different types of like psychic abilities and gifts that one could potentially have. We all have the same senses in the human body. We all have these abilities. It's just whether you're like practicing and tapping into them. Like obviously, the more high vibrational, the more in tune you are with yourself, the more susceptible or more open you will be to these sorts of things. But if you're blocked or skeptical or closed off, then it will be very hard to unlock that. So I can really resonate with
For me, I just, people take one of my courses and I just unlock it for them. They don't necessarily have to go seeking it. They watch videos. I've got this, everything's online. People can watch it having a cup of tea. They watch videos and get superpowers. That's my whole business model.
Love it. It's so cool. Well, yeah, we'll definitely give that a plug at the end. I think there'll be a few people wanting to learn a bit more from you and how to do that. And what I'd love to know is that experience in the bathroom with your friend when you see those snake things coming out of her ears. Was that the first time you ever had a visual experience of an entity or an energy like that?
I've seen a few ghosts before, but nothing more than that.
Yeah. And so for someone who may have never seen a ghost before, like how do you know you have seen a ghost?
I think they appear to people in different ways. I've got, one of my friends I was talking to who's a very good psychic, Craig. He was saying that he saw them as physical people. So he as a child, he couldn't distinguish between a physical, normal person and a ghostly person until sort of they were like, well, that person's not actually there. And, that was a weird thing that he had during childhood. But I think that's quite rare. The way that I've seen them is more, well, it depends which one. Gosh, I've seen angels as well. I've called angels into healing and seen them. They just look like Cluedo pieces with the ball of a head and the square of the body bit in white. That's what they look like. This entity looked like heat waves. So if people have seen heat waves before, it's those swirly lines like that. Austin Powers. Yeah, but sort of invisible, but you can just see the heat on them, like moving like that. So that was that. Ghosts are sometimes sort of white and sort of billowy in some sort of way, sort of semi-transparent or, semi-opaque maybe. And you can sort of see through them and see them a bit. I'm not that visually psychic. I have a lot of people that I work with who are significantly more visually psychic than me. I always say that I'm a doer rather than a seer. And I rely on a lot of people's sight because I'm very big picture, and I have a lot of other people who do the intricate things or help me do the intricate things or see at least intricate things, and I just sweep them all up and put them into one package because I want to make this very accessible. And I think my lack of psychic abilities makes it more accessible to people who don't have that good, strong psychic abilities. I also think that I'm very much a lone wolf in what I do, and if I was very psychic as well, I probably would just be doing things by myself, and it's probably not very safe. So I think that they have put that in to stop me. But I used to be a lot more psychic as a kid. Something jumped into me when I think I was about 7 or 8, and in my assembly at school, and I used to be able to see whole movies in my mind. And then we've switched sides. That's strange.
No, it's just because when you raise your hand on the call, it like goes, you have a question.
Oh my God, it just switched sides. Oh, funny. Yeah, so that's funny. Yeah, something jumped into, that's so strange. Magic. Yeah, something jumped into my third eye and blocked it a long time ago. So now I have aphantasia, so I can't really see aphantasia is when you can't visualize anything inside your mind. So I now have aphantasia, which I used to be able to visualize everything. So I'm not much of a seer, I'm more of a doer.
Interesting. And like, would you say that's something that jumped into your mind? Would that be like an entity?
An entity. I think it's protection. I've asked a lot of psychics over a lot of time about this because it happened a long time ago, and it does annoy me that I'm not that visually psychic. But I do think that it was one, protection to, stop me from doing stupid things, which I'm very kamikaze. I just go into battle. I'll go and do, crazy stuff because I can fix problems very quickly. I can navigate my way out of trouble quite quickly and quite easily. So I think that it's for protection in that way. I also just think it makes it much more accessible because I have been on spiritual classes, and then the teachers saying these very intricate, amazing psychic things, and I couldn't relate at all. So it just kind of didn't fit for me. So if I want to bring this work out into the mainstream, which I think is the mission, then I think it just needs to be much more accessible than someone with very good sight.
Well, speaking of mainstream then, so the common like problems that I would see in the collective, I mean, specifically living in London right now, is a lot of people are just feeling exhausted. Would you say that is because of their energy, and how would one fix that in your view?
Depends why they're exhausted. There's a lot of different factors into that. So, I mean, I'll tell you multiple answers because it could be any one of these. 90% of the absorption of vitamins and minerals happens via your small intestine. So so the rest of it is just really coming in through your skin, through sunlight, and that's, that sort of stuff. So it's everything that you're ingesting. If your small intestine is functioning poorly, you're in trouble. So you could be eating all of the most amazing, organic, fresh, and, really high vibration, really, really good food. And if your small intestine isn't working very well, if it's working at 10%, you might be getting 10% of something amazing. And you could have some son of a gun who's eating absolute trash, who has loads more energy than you because their small intestine is working at 100%. So they would be able to distill and get all of the nutrients out of even fast food trash, and you would be struggling with that. So one of them is definitely your small intestine. So if your small intestine is working poorly, you are not going to be getting the fuel into your body. Another one is your adrenals. So your adrenals are you need them for energy production, and people get stressed out, burn out their adrenals with their cortisol, adrenaline, that sort of stuff, and they end up just depleted, and so they just haven't got any energy reserves because they've just completely burnt out their adrenals, adrenal fatigue. That's another version. I think one of the most things is in London, I think people have a lot of anxiety and a lot of mind chatter, and the mind chatter is exhausting. So if you're just having 17 conversations with yourself about various different things and thinking about all of these different things simultaneously, or stressing about X, Y, and Z, and when you go to sleep, oh God, why did I say that to Sophie? Gosh, I made a tit of myself. That sort of stuff. If you're worrying about things or something that happened in middle school or whatever it is, like if you are constantly thinking about a barrage of different things, that is just complete completely exhausting for your body. And then you've got sleep. How is your sleep affecting you? Are you getting good sleep? Are you tracking your sleep? How is your sleep? Are you drinking alcohol before you go to bed? Alcohol trashes your sleep. Maybe drink it at lunchtime and stop before dinner time if you can. If you are somebody that does drink, just be aware only to do it periodically, and just be aware that your sleep will get trashed. Are you going to bed at a sensible time? In Chinese medicine, it's like I've got 100 different answers for this question. In Chinese medicine, the time you most need to be asleep is between 11 and 1 o'clock, which is your gallbladder reset. So you need to be in bed, pretty much asleep by 10:30, very, very latest. Otherwise, your body can't do its regeneration and rejuvenation in the middle of the night. So there's a couple of answers for.
They're perfect. I love that. I felt like that was quite grounding and good, like, points that listeners can write down, especially if they are feeling a bit exhausted at the moment. My next question then becomes, like, what are the common things that you see in people who come seeking your help?
Okay, I'm gonna have to tell you what the grand theory of disease is before I can answer that.
We're all been waiting since you dropped at the start of this episode. We're waiting on the edge of our seat. Tell us.
Bless you. Okay, right. The answer to that is everything, because of what I'm about to tell you now. I don't differentiate between what the diseases are, because I figured out what diseases are, and I can give you different examples of this throughout history and magical things. So I'll go into a bit of detail about it. Okay. Diseases come in three categories: a gas, a liquid, and a solid. This is Antonia's grand theory of disease, which I'm very proud of, and I'm glad I got it published, because I feel like everyone should know this, and I don't know why I've discovered it. I feel like it's very obvious, and I keep proving it and proving it and proving it. And I'm very proud of this discovery. So my grand theory of disease. Diseases come in three categories: a gas, a liquid, and a solid. Gas-based diseases are thought-based diseases. So when you hang around somebody who's sad or angry or upset, you spend 2 seconds with them, they're radiating that energy. An anxious person makes you feel anxious. If you walk into the room after an argument, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife. You can feel it in the air. Conversely, someone who's very happy might elevate you. You can feel that. Or if your friend got snooky last night, you're like, "Oh, girl," you can feel it. There's you can notice things as people's vibe shifts. Or maybe when your friend is sad and you give them a phone call, you're not even around them. You can just sense that, gosh, is so-and-so okay? And then maybe call them because you can sense it. But it's intrinsically in the air around them, which is why rooms can be full of an energy, and it just follows people around. They almost smell of it. It's kind of radiating off them all the time. Their depression, unfortunately, radiates off them, and maybe people avoid them because of it. Same with anxiety. Or maybe you gravitate towards people with a high vibration because it's really nice to be in their presence, elevates you, feel really good, right? They just smell of it. It's coming off them. That's a gas-based diseases, which is mood. And emotion is gas, right? Then you've got a liquid-based disease. A liquid-based disease are things that sort of move around or are fluid-based. Let's think about a cyst. A cyst is a literal ball of fluid, right? It's a ball of fluid. It's a very interesting one. Fibromyalgia, they initially didn't think it was a real thing for a very long time because the pain shifts and ebbs and flows, and they couldn't discover it. And so doctors were kind of, yeah, it's nothing for a long time. Backache, sometimes its intensity shifts. Sometimes it's a 10 out of 10. Sometimes it's a 2 out of 10. Sometimes you can barely feel it. Its location shifts. Sometimes an inch to the left, up, down, left, right. It moves around the body. It's not in a fixed place. It ebbs and flows, zooms in and zooms out, gets stronger, gets weaker. It's not in a fixed location. It's like it travels around the body to different places. Backache is about not feeling supported. The emotions of not feeling supported, they can't just stay in your field indefinitely. They go somewhere in your body, and they actually gather in your back, which is what your support network. It physically supports your body. Your spine supports everything. Otherwise, you'd be a ball of goo on the floor. It supports your entire body. If you have lower back issue, it's an addition about being unclear about finances. What's your responsibility? What's somebody else's responsibility? Worried about money in different capacities. But all of your thoughts about that get swept under the rug by your body. You have all of them. They all just gather in that particular area. And then they just more and more of them and more and more of them, more and more of them. And as people know from their high school chemistry and physics, how does a gas become a liquid? The molecules slow down and cool down, but they go into a confined space. If you put enough gas inside a bottle, keep going, eventually the molecules are going to slow down and cool down and become a liquid.
Okay.
Right. Then you've got a solid-based disease. A solid-based based disease would be something like a benign or non-cancerous tumor. So a benign tumor is capsulated. That is the medical term. It has a capsule, a shell around the outside. And when it becomes, so it's more of those thoughts traditionally to do with grief. Cancer's largely to do with grief. There's more about where it is in your body as well. There's books on this sort of stuff. Metaphysical Anatomy by Yvette Rose is fantastic on this. I use it as a textbook in class. So all of your thoughts about grief go there. So when it becomes malignant or cancerous is when it starts spreading a fluid, the capsule bursts. It's capsulated and the capsule bursts, starts spreading around the body, and then it's officially cancer. And then when it's metastasized, that means it's spread all over the body. But the fluid, it's been compressed to make it into a solid. That bursts because there's too much, it's too full, and then it just starts going around the body like that. And that's how you get diseases. What do you think?
Well, I actually really like the way that you've broken this down. I think it's quite an easy little framework that makes it clear. I really resonate with a lot of what you said, especially because for me, I'm passionate about the works of Louise Hay and like The Body Keeps Score as well. These sorts of books, they very much dictate like the way that I coach also, and the training and the healing that I do within my workshops. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Good girl. Okay, cool. So, now I just want to explain it in a few different ways in magic and history. Okay, so I think mastery of solid liquid gas, full mastery, is when you that's my base level of enlightenment. You have to have full mastery of solid liquid gas, which would mean you'd be able to dematerialize cancer. I've done benign tumors, not cancerous ones. You'd be able to do that instantaneously. That's my base level for enlightenment. But they have different, how is this applied in other ways? Mastery of solid liquid gas means you can change it both directions, right? Mastery of it. Okay, so walking on water. How do you walk on water? What's solid water? You got it. That's how you walk on water. Make it into solid. And also, if you think about where it was, that, Nazareth didn't have, it's hot there. There's no snow. So he's walking on solid water, which would be ice. So he has mastery of solid liquid gas. That's how Jesus walked on water. So then if we look at this one, I have a prop.
I love it.
This is the sword in the stone. So how do you get a sword into stone? What you do is liquefy or just make it into a gel. So basically, the legend of King Arthur tells us, it said on the stone, whoever pulleth the sword becomes the King of England. What it used to be in the good old days was that the most advanced, enlightened being was the ruler. I think we have the opposite nowadays. I think everybody can agree with that on a world politics level, right? But it used to be that the wisest person would probably be enlightened. And if you were enlightened, you'd have master of solid liquid gas, which means you'd be able, because Merlin put it in, we think, and then King Arthur pulls it out, but that would mean he'd liquefied the stone. And that would mean that he was enlightened, which means he probably would be a wise and just ruler.
Interesting. Okay. So,
and then they've got it. I'll just tell you a couple more examples of it. They've got it. It is in a few places. Langley Sho, I think it's called that, which is the beginning of Tibetan Buddhism. I think it's Langley Sho. Pretty sure it's that. I did have my Tibetan friend teach me how to pronounce it for my audiobook because I didn't want to screw it up. Anyway, they've got handprints in stone of the enlightened being, the Buddhist monk. So the handprints in stone, and they have those in a few different places around the world as well. And then conversely, worshipping false idols, we have it in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where we have the cement handprints, but it's actually a FU to the spiritual community because it's making it look like these celebrities are able to melt stone, which is an enlightened characteristic, and we're worshipping the false idols of these Hollywood bots. Yeah, and they also, it happens in tornadoes, so natural ways it happens is in tornadoes. Sometimes you can have it spinning so fast that you can end up with a tree embedded. So this is the wall and this is a plank, and normally you'd expect it to just bounce away, right? Or it would get shattered. Sometimes in a tornado, it just goes like that, and the piece of wood embeds into the wall. The molecules intermingle with each other and they become one. So that happens in tornadoes, and they've got chairs that have done it, and you would expect them to break, but they just become completely embedded in it. So it happens with spin energy in tornadoes. They managed to discover it as well. They did it in Princeton in the 80s, where they managed to liquefy metal and liquefy anything stone. They can do it without high temperatures. They can liquefy things by it's having very cold, you have to hyperfreeze it, and you have to use they had the biggest electromagnet to be able to do that. So you can do it. There are ways that it's done, but that's mastery. And then you can do all of these amazing things. So I'm not there yet, but I have managed to dematerialize tumors, benign tumors, non-cancerous ones, in 2 minutes and have ultrasound footage. I bought an ultrasound machine to get the footage to be able to do that.
Wow. Yeah. So tell me about two stories of people that, maybe would have gone to seek like original sort of normal societal medical help and maybe have been said a lost cause apart from your friend. And then they've maybe come to see you and then had this miraculous experience. I'd love to hear some of the stories that you have.
Gosh, there are so many. Honestly, it's
Your
just
favorite ones.
I don't know. I mean, I'm into at the moment. I've been doing this 20 years, so I've just got so many stories. I mean, I've had people with arthritis and it's gone at the end of the session, just clearing all the emotions that cause it. And then the diseases fall out of people. You actually get to the bottom of and fully clear all of the emotions. Diseases are neon signs saying, hey, honey, you've got an issue. Hey, honey, you haven't looked at your emotions. You're holding on to, lamenting on some really horrible things that happened to you in your past. I'm sorry those things happen, but you need to let them go. Otherwise, they will eat you up from the inside out. They will cause you to have diseases. So when you clear the emotions, the diseases fall out of people, which is really, really fun. The stuff I'm doing at the moment, because I'm working to get in with, I think that unfortunately, most healing modalities suck. That's where we are. If you talk about all the talk therapy, the major, you mentioned the body keeps the score. So Bessel van der Kolk also has spoken about these things in interviews as well. Some of it's in his book and some of it's not. But in his book, he does talk about the different sorts of healing. So you've got the traditional talk therapy. Unfortunately, energy goes where intention flows. You can keep talking about these things for days and you can actually re-traumatize yourself. And it's really interesting because depression and lamenting on or just talking about your woes is the same thing as depression. So some talk therapy can be very, very helpful because it can help you make sense of things. But if you're still talking about the same thing years later, you're making it worse, unfortunately. And that's the bitter truth of it all. If you need to just understand it and make sense of it in your mind, very, very useful. Talking about it years later is not a good thing. They're not actually seeking to cure it or to help you through it. They are just sometimes, some of them aren't very ethical, it's not great. So you've got that one. It's not that helpful. It can be for some people. Then you've got the family constellation stuff where it's like you act out that your mum did this awful thing. That's what she did. And then you act out my mum doing it better. It can be helpful, but it's not, that helpful. Then you've got the I move in desensitization reprogramming. So that no one talks about the way that works. I'll explain how it works. So everybody at home and you as well, just tell me, how many windows have you got in your house? Count them for me. So you're looking up and right from my perspective, okay? It doesn't matter how many windows you've got. So I'm not sure if you're mirrored or not, but you're looking up and right, or this up and left, I don't know which way around it is, that way.
Yeah, so
one of these ways,
up
and left. Yeah. Anyway, so basically what happens is when we recall memories, our eyeballs move in a certain direction. That's what happens. So if we're looking up, either up and left or up and right, if we are lying or trying to make something up on the spot, we tend to look downwards, which might be useful for people to know. But we're looking either up and left or up and right. So what happens is EMDR initially starts with following a finger. So you say, you start telling me about your awful trauma and you follow my finger and the movement of your eyes following my finger, or now a light or a different object. It's evolved over the last 20 years. I've known about it for a long time. It scrambles your memory because you look either up and left or up and right. That's what happens. It scrambles your memory just because of the movement of your eyeballs and how memory is stored in. A little bit, and it doesn't work that deeply. You have to have a lot of sessions. The most effective stuff that they have nowadays is to do with the psychedelic stuff. Magic mushrooms has been very, very effective. However, we need at least 7 to 10 sessions to do it. Unfortunately, you have to have 2 practitioners in case there's some sexual deviancy in it. Gross, but that can happen. And normally it lasts for about 4 years or so. And then you have to have another session. It's very, very, very good. The stuff that I'm doing is more precise. So someone thinks about a situation and I dissolve their trauma for them. and it works and it goes. We could do it now. If you've got any traumas, I could do it live and do it for everybody at home as well and do a live demo.
I wouldn't call anything like traumas. I mean, I'm sure I'd love to do it live for everyone so they can get to experience it.
Yeah, because it will stay in the video as well, or the audio or whatever it is. So anyone who's at home who wants to experience a little demo of my work is welcome to. Should we do that?
For sure, that would be great. What should we do?
Okay, well, have you got a trauma? I mean, the thing is, you're a happy little soul, so you might not have that much going on. However, if you've got a situation, maybe somebody passed, or you've got a trauma about something, maybe someone broke your heart, or something didn't go your way, or something that you're holding on to for a long time, maybe you've already healed it, or you got anything?
A bit of work on myself, so I wouldn't like. They probably don't have a lot of emotional charge, and I'm very lucky to not have lost anyone super close to me.
So have you got an irritant or something that's annoying you, or something that's not quite going your way? If you know,
recently the themes that I'm experiencing, because I'm switching over visas here in the UK, so I'm switching from like a youth mobility visa, and I'm going to apply for something called like an innovator visa, which means I have to pitch myself, and it's like the risk of rejection, and there's also like maybe some fears coming up of like, what if it doesn't work out and I have to go home? Like, even though that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's like I have to really own myself and step up. So yeah, I guess maybe that's something that I'm facing at the moment, is like that fear.
Okay, what's that out of a 10? This is a more advanced thing that I was going to do, but we'll do it anyway.
No worries. I'm open. I'm really open. Out of 10, I would say yesterday was probably like 7 or 8. Like, I was feeling exhausted from thinking about it. Today I feel a lot better. Like, I'm ready to take action and commit to a decision. Yeah, yesterday was heavy.
Okay, so do you want to do the separate things? Do you want to do the stress from yesterday? Can you still find that stress now if you think about it, or is it gone?
I can still find it. What was the other option though?
The future one. Do you want me to clear your future fears of it, or your yesterday past fears of it? They're kind of different.
Let's do future.
Okay, so where does it feel, and how stressful is it as a future? Can you find it?
Yeah.
Can you tune into it?
Yeah, I feel it right in like the under my sternum, sort of like above my belly button, like center.
Do you have a number for it as well? Do you have it like, what is it out of 10? Just so we can grade it and then we can figure out, make sure it's good.
6.
6 out of 10. Okay. All right. So close your eyes, and then, okay, if anyone's driving a motor vehicle, please pull it to the side if you want to join in on this. Otherwise, don't join in on it because you will be distracted potentially. So pull over. If you want to do it, pause it, come back. Okay, so yeah, you can follow in at home. Some fear that you've got of the future, from fear of something, grade it out of 10 for me as well. And it's going to be embedded in this. Okay, so now, see, this is not, yeah, all right. I normally do this as a secondary thing. Okay, so think about sort of worst case scenarios. So anyone who's got a very big phobia or fear, don't do this. We're doing something which is not actually life and death. It's not something which is going to freak people out. So only do this for something minor. Don't jump down the rabbit hole for something which is a big worry, which could actually put you in danger, or anything like that, or a big phobia, or something hugely anxious made. We're doing something which is obviously very important, but isn't life or death. It's not something which is, gonna really, I just don't like people opening up doors to things which are unsafe. So start small, everybody. Don't do a big one. Just do something which is easy.
This is good, because I think a few people listening might be in the same position of me, not necessarily about visa, but maybe taking action on a goal that they have, or create the life they want. So this is going to be useful.
I think let's stick to action on goals. So just, what's the word begins with a P when they're not getting on with things? What is it? Procrastinating. So we'll think about procrastination. So let's think about one topic that everybody is procrastinating on, and you know what we're going to be doing for you specifically. So let's stick to that rather than anything else for safety. Okay. So now just think about, the situation, and maybe it doesn't work out for you. So I kind of want you to go down some dark rabbit holes. So, it may or may not, but we need to release. The problem that people have largely is they get paralyzed by not thinking things all the way through. They get stuck at a midpoint where it goes, oh my God, what happens if? And it's very worrying. But if they actually go, okay, well, what happens if? And then they go, okay, well, if that does happen, then what may happen as a result of that? What happens after that? Okay, so maybe heaven forbid you end up getting sent back to Australia. So what would happen after that? Okay, well, maybe I have to, worst case scenario, go and live with your family again. I don't know what your situation is. But, if your absolute worst case scenario is you were living in the suburbs in Australia with your family, and that's literally the worst thing, then everything else is going to be a bonus. It's like it'll be a nice, it's not so bad. So I encourage people to, but also you just need to work through them and to clear all of the energy out of all the potential pitfalls in it. And then if those situations, one day it's not going your way and then the next day it is, it just means you won't freak out. It means you won't have that emotion, that potential there, because you've already cleared it. So then it's just, okay, well, I dealt with this. And then also because you're not fretting about it, you're not manifesting it by pulling it in, because there's a dark side of manifestation as well as the light side of manifestation, which is if you are fixated thinking about something rubbish happening to you, you're inviting it, my dears. You are bringing in things which you don't ruddy want. So it's very important not to get fixated and stressed out and have loads of anxiety about the situation, because all you're doing is inviting it and ordering it and pulling it in. So that's dangerous. So just be careful with that as well. Right. So yeah, just go down your rabbit holes about worst case scenario, and I'll just zip that out of you, and and everybody at home, same thing with anything you're procrastinating on or any action that you are not doing. All right, let's do it.
Right.
Okay, close your eyes and let's go. Okay. How's that?
It was actually interesting. I saw a visual of me being back at home and like seeing my family and then being like, okay, what next? And it was me figuring out how to get back to the UK.
How's the resonance now? Are you still feeling it in your sternum? Is it still a 6 out of 10? Where are we?
Still feeling it in my stomach, but I would say it's more like it's probably gone down.
Still a 5?
Yeah. I don't know. It's almost like there's like a panic there.
Okay, so let's drop into the panic and start thinking about the panic, and let's clear that as well and see if we can get it all the way down. All right.
So when I'm thinking about like the worst case scenario.
Yeah, we want you to go into the worst case scenario, because then you just empty all of some ammunition out.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's have a check-in, and it should be working for everyone at home just as well as it is here. How are you feeling?
Actually, like it kind of brought a couple of smiles to my face, because I just think like in that process, for everyone listening, so you get an overview of what I just experienced, is like I was thinking, what's the worst case scenario? I go back to Australia, and I've invested in a lot of finances into like it trying to work in the UK. It doesn't work. So then I'm basically starting from scratch. What I did see was that I saw my family and how supported and loved I am, and that, I am someone that never gives up. So I'll be always finding a way. And worst case scenario after that was there was no way. So then I would stay, and then that would mean I would figure out another idea of making it work there. And all I kept seeing was just like all of my friends and family back in Australia, happy to see me, happy there. And also just like knowing that wherever I go, what is for me will never pass me by. So I almost saw like a miracle working for me back at home also.
Amazing.
So yeah, it kind of feels like I can't lose.
That's beautiful. Is that a 0 now, or is there still some resonance in it?
No, I would say that's a 0.
And the anxiety in your tummy or your sternum, are they both completely?
Yeah, I would say it is definitely not there anymore as much as it was at the start.
Is it totally gone though? Can you feel it at all in your body?
No, I think like it's what I was feeling is gone. I would say maybe it like because energy is moved, that I'm just like feeling other things now. Maybe that's unlayering like other stuff. But yeah, I feel like generally like it's gone.
Yay! And everybody at home who followed along, please, let us know how that's worked out for you. You just do exactly the same thing. If you weren't able to listen to it now, then by all means, just rewind it and listen. Just grade it out of 10, figure out what you're going to be working on. So, we were thinking about action goals or anything that you are not getting around to. Manyaning. anything like that, and then just, you know, play it out in your mind's eye and watch this video, and you can release your traumas or your future fears, your anxieties around situations.
Yeah, I think that's a really useful tool for anyone listening right now. If you take anything away from this episode, is like one sentence that stood out to me from my dad, actually, who I saw a lot of in that vision just then. He always reminds me that like the worst that can happen usually is that you stay in the same space that you were in when you started, and usually that is never a bad position to be in. Like it's always just you're growing, you're learning, and usually the worst case scenario is the exact same position that you're in. So that was very helpful for me.
The worst that can happen is nothing.
Truly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So thank you so much for today and for coming on to my show. Like, where can my listeners find you if they want to read your book, if they want to do a session with you or join your academy? Like, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so everything is Antonia, divinely empowered with Antonia will find me. Antonia the wizard will find me. Antonia the exorcist will find me. As long as you remember that bit, the Antonia bit, you'll find me quite easily. So Antonia_Harman is my Instagram, and divine empowered or divine empowerment across everything. And so basically the school is, you learn superpowers sitting in your pajamas with a cup of tea. You watch videos, get superpowers. I remove the malware, prevent you from having these normal natural abilities, and then you get superpowers. And they're all online. You just watch them in the comfort of your own home whenever suits you. We've got a lovely community as well with Telegram groups. Or you can, of course, if you have more things you want to be doing, the new stuff, I'm purging all trauma in one go, is the new stuff, which I'm teaching Easter Sunday. So that is hot off the press. I haven't said this publicly yet. So all trauma. Yeah, all frigging trauma. I've just done this on a couple of people over the last few days, and it's literally all of their trauma has gone, and it's very, very life-changing for them. So I'm the only one who can do that currently, but by Sunday there's going to be, you know, another, like my high-level students will be able to do that as well. You know, that is really, really good. And it's really interesting how it's recalibrating people's bodies. I've got some really new, exciting work, which I'm not at liberty to discuss quite yet, but very exciting is coming forward. Yeah. So if you want to book in with me or one of my practitioners, they're all trained by me. They're all brilliant in and of their own right. They're all more psychic than I am, actually, every single one of them. But as I said, I'm a doer, not a seer. So yeah, you can book in with one of them, me, or just learn superpowers for yourself, because you are a god with amnesia. And, you know, like this, the last line of my book called Energy Secrets, How to Live to Your Full Potential is, you always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself, which is what Glinda said from The Wizard of Oz. And I stand by that. You just have to awaken your superpowers, and you can become the amazing legend you were always destined to be.
Such a powerful finish. Thank you so much, Antonia. Thank you for coming on the show. It was a
Thank you so
pleasure to
much.
have you. And guys, I'll pop all the links for everything down in the show notes, so you can connect with Antonia and check out what she's doing, the magic, because yeah, it's incredible work, and you must be so proud of the work that you're doing and people you're helping. Well done. I'm inspired, and yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.